Have you ever felt like no matter what you do, something or someone always manages to knock you off balance? What if I told you that the key to living a life where nothing and no one could affect you lies within yourself? This video is for you if you're ready to take back control of your emotions, stop being a prisoner of your past, and experience a peace you've only dreamed about. You see, the world outside can be chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes overwhelming, but how we respond to it defines our experience. If you're tired of being swept away by the weight of other people's opinions, constant self-doubt, or the never-ending cycle of frustration and fear, this video will show you how to break free. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to transform your inner world, not by avoiding emotions, but by learning to manage and interpret them. You'll discover how to turn every challenge, every negative emotion, into a powerful tool for growth. No longer will external circumstances control you. Instead, you will be empowered to live with clarity, confidence, and unshakable peace. So, stay with us until the end and learn how you can shift your mindset, unlock your true power, and start living a life where you're in control. Your peace, strength, and freedom are just a choice away. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. Let's delve into this idea, painting a real-life picture that many can relate to. Imagine someone who's spent their entire life living under the oppressive weight of believing they are unlovable. From a young age, they were taught that to receive love, they had to earn it constantly pleasing others, sacrificing their happiness, bending over backward just to get a hint of validation. The foundation of their self-worth was built on how much they could give, how much they could endure for the approval of those around them. As they grew older, this pattern continued, leaving them feeling perpetually unworthy, as though they could never do enough, be enough. The fear of rejection became their silent companion, pushing them to live a life of constant striving, always chasing an impossible standard. But here's where it all begins to shift. The first step is acknowledging the truth. As Carl Jung famously said, it's about integrating the shadow, bringing to the surface the very things we've hidden from ourselves. When this person, weighed down by the fear of rejection, finally sees the pattern for what it is, they begin to take back their power. They recognize that their value doesn't lie in what others think of them, but in how they perceive themselves. That's the first spark of transformation. Something miraculous begins to unfold. They start to set boundaries real, healthy boundaries, learning to say no without the crushing guilt that once would have plagued them. They begin to put themselves first, not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect, no longer afraid that taking care of their own needs will result in abandonment. And here's the beautiful truth. As they begin this journey of self-empowerment, the people around them shift too. No longer do others reach out to them solely for what they can give, but now they are valued for who they truly are. The cycle of fear and self-sacrifice breaks, and the person finally steps into their true self. Now let's turn our attention to another powerful example. Consider someone who's always seen failure not as a natural part of life, but as a personal humiliation. Each time they fall short of their expectations, they sink into a spiral of self-loathing, comparing themselves to others, and feeling defeated. They carry the belief that the world is full of insurmountable obstacles, and failure is something to be feared at all costs. But here's where the shift can begin. What if they started seeing failure not as the end, but as an essential stepping stone on the growth journey? What if every failure was just another opportunity to learn, another chapter in the book of self-discovery? Jung's words resonate deeply here. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. If this person were to start viewing every setback not as a punishment, but as a lesson, every failed attempt an invitation to grow, their entire relationship with life would change. The fear that once bound them to inaction would dissolve, replaced by a curiosity and courage to try again, knowing that their worth is not tied to the result, but to the growth they experience with each effort. What many fail to realize is this: Every thought we have is a seed we plant in the garden of our minds. If you water seeds of doubt, fear, and resentment day after day, you're nurturing a tree of negativity that will eventually take over your life. But if you consciously choose to plant seeds of confidence, self-belief, and peace, your reality will radically shift. This isn't some far-fetched theory. This is something you can begin to experience immediately. The next time you catch yourself thinking a limiting thought, don't accept it as your truth. Pause. Observe it. Question it. Ask yourself, is this my voice? Or is this an old story I've been carrying from the past? In doing this, you'll come to realize that the only power those thoughts ever had was the power you gave them. When you choose not to feed them, they begin to wither away. And here's the most profound realization of all: you don't need the world to change to experience a different reality. All you need is to shift how you respond to what life throws at you. If you view life as a series of insurmountable obstacles, you'll continue to find proof of that everywhere. But if you decide, instead, to see life as a series of growth opportunities, every situation becomes a chance to learn, to evolve, and to become more of who you truly are. Jung's insight is so clear. What you resist persists. The more you struggle against life, the more you're going to encounter those very things you're trying to avoid. But when you let go of resistance, when you open yourself to the possibility that every experience holds something valuable, the tension melts away. Now, can you imagine the freedom of living like this? Free from the fear of failure. Because you know that failure doesn't define you. Free from the fear of judgment. Because you've come to understand that the only opinion that matters is your own. Free from the fear of uncertainty because you trust that you can handle whatever life brings. That, my friends, is true freedom, not the kind that depends on circumstances, but the kind that rises from within you. It's a freedom born from knowing that when you release the invisible chains that your mind has imposed on you, nothing and no one can ever imprison you again. In that very moment, you'll discover that the peace you've always longed for wasn't out there in the world, but right here within you, waiting to be recognized. When we avoid facing our shadow, it shows up in ways we don't even recognize, through anxiety, through perpetual conflicts, and through destructive patterns that repeat in our lives. But when we choose to confront what we've avoided, we realize that our shadow is not the enemy. It's simply a part of us, waiting to be understood, to be integrated. Think for a moment about that fear you've been carrying for years, whether it's the fear of rejection, of failure, or of simply not being enough. Every time you reach for something new, that fear whispers reasons why you shouldn't even try. But have you ever stopped to ask where that voice comes from? Whose voice is it? Maybe it's rooted in something from your childhood, some harsh words spoken by someone you loved, or a belief that was instilled in you when you were too young to question it. The key here is this: that voice isn't you, it's just an echo of the past, a story that's been replaying in your mind, keeping you small. You don't have to carry it any longer. You can choose, right now, to let it go. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Here's where you have the chance to do something truly transformative. Instead of running away from fear or trying to bury it under layers of distraction, pause for a moment. Instead of resisting, open yourself to the deeper wisdom it might hold. Ask yourself, what is this fear trying to teach me? Maybe it's revealing your need to build more self-confidence, to acknowledge your worth without seeking external approval, or perhaps it's showing you that the time has come to stop running away from what you truly desire. When you allow yourself to explore your emotions, when you stop rejecting them, fear loses its grip over you. You stop living as a prisoner of your past, and instead step into your true power as the creator of your present reality. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you're in a crucial conversation with someone important, a boss, a partner, or someone dear to you. As the moment approaches, anxiety rises within you. Your chest tightens, your mind floods with doubts, and your body feels tense. In the past, you might have tried to push those feelings down, to force yourself to remain calm, or, on the other hand, let them spiral out of control. But this time, you decide to do something different. You take a slow, steady breath, acknowledge the emotions you're feeling, and refuse to let them dictate your response. You ask yourself, what part of me is feeling this? What old story am I telling myself right now? And in that moment, you realize the fear you're experiencing isn't even about this particular conversation. It's an echo of a pattern from your past. With this newfound clarity, instead of reacting from a place of insecurity, you choose to respond from a place of confidence. You speak with calm assurance, knowing you're no longer controlled by old wounds, but by your most conscious, empowered self. Now, let's consider another situation. You feel a deep resentment towards someone who hurt you long ago. This emotion, although justified, consumes you. It influences how you view the world, how you relate to others, and even how you feel about yourself. Carl Jung famously said, "What we don't resolve within projects outward." This means that unresolved resentment doesn't just affect your relationship with the person who wronged you, it seeps into every area of your life, coloring everything you encounter. But instead of feeding that toxic emotion, instead of continually asking, "Why did they hurt me?" you choose a different path. You ask yourself, "What can I learn from this? What part of me is still holding on to this pain?" And as you reflect, something powerful begins to shift. Perhaps you realize it's not just the hurt they caused that has impacted you, but the story you've been telling yourself about that hurt. Maybe you've believed that the pain defines you, that you're still a victim of that event. But in that moment, you understand that you don't have to carry this weight any longer. You choose to release it not for them, but for you, because you deserve to live free from the chains of the past, to move forward without carrying emotional baggage that no longer serves you. Jung understood that true transformation comes from within. It's not about changing the world around you to make your emotions disappear. It's about changing your relationship with your emotions. Every difficult emotion, every limiting thought, isn't a punishment or something to fear. Instead, they are invitations, portals, to a deeper understanding of who you are. To pass through these portals, you have to be willing to face your inner world, to look into the mirror of your mind and accept everything you see, not to judge it, but to integrate it into your being. And here is where everything starts to shift. You are no longer the person who reacts automatically to every situation. You're no longer swept away by your emotions, at the mercy of whatever comes your way. Now, you're the observer, choosing how to respond to life's events. You realize that peace doesn't come from controlling the world around you. Instead, it's something you find within yourself when you learn to see the world through new eyes. It's not about pretending everything is perfect, but learning to be okay with everything, even when chaos surrounds you. It's about discovering that the true power you've been searching for on the outside has always been waiting for you inside. It's waiting for you to claim it, to realize that it has always been yours. Picture this. You wake up feeling exhausted, not from a restless night's sleep, but from the emotional weight you've been carrying. Something lingers in your mind, perhaps an awkward conversation, a harsh criticism, or a mistake you can't seem to shake. You wonder why, despite all your efforts to move on, the opinions of others still weigh so heavily on you. Why does something that happened so long ago still haunt you? The answer isn't found in the actions of others. It's found in the way you've interpreted those events, in the story you've told yourself about what happened. What you've internalized isn't the words or actions of those around you. It's your perception, the meaning you've attached to what was said or done. You see, the real power lies not in what others do or say, but in how you respond to it. The real strength comes from your ability to rewrite the story in your mind, to let go of the old narrative that no longer serves you. When you begin to understand this, you begin to see that the only thing that has ever truly held you back was not external circumstances, but your own beliefs about those circumstances. The moment you change your relationship with your past, with your fears, and with the stories you've carried for so long, you free yourself. And that's when true peace begins to blossom within you. This is where everything shifts. The core issue for so many of us is believing that the source of our pain and suffering lies outside ourselves, in our circumstances, in the actions of others, or even in the luck we've received. But Carl Jung made a critical point that can change everything. Everything that disturbs you about the external world is merely a reflection of something unhealed within yourself. It's not the criticism you're receiving that truly hurts. It's the part of you that still doubts your worth. It's not the indifference of others that frustrates you. It's your deep need for validation. Your longing for someone to give you the affirmation you feel you lack. The moment you realize this, you begin to see that until you heal that inner wound, you will remain trapped in these same cycles, repeating the same painful patterns again and again. Here's the powerful shift that can free you. Ask yourself, if this emotion were a message, what is it trying to teach me? Perhaps it's urging you to trust yourself more, to stop seeking validation from others, and instead begin to validate yourself. Maybe it's telling you that it's time to stop living by the expectations of others and start building your truth. The key here isn't simply what you feel, but what you do with that feeling. How you choose to respond to the emotions that arise is what shapes your reality. Think of this in a very real, practical situation. You're in a heated discussion with someone close to you, a partner, a friend, or even a colleague. As the conversation escalates, you feel your own emotions spike: anger, frustration, defensiveness. In the past, you might have reacted immediately, matching their tone, letting your anger take over. But this time, you decide to try something different. You pause, take a deep breath, and instead of reacting impulsively, you choose to respond with awareness. You ask yourself, what part of me is reacting right now? Is it truly this person who is making me feel this way, or is it something deeper inside of me? In that moment, you realize that the anger isn't solely about this conversation. It's about something deeper, a part of you that's still unhealed. Instead of reacting from a place of insecurity or defensiveness, you choose to respond with clarity, with conscious intention. You don't suppress your anger, but you transform it. You move from being a victim of the emotion to being the master of your response. This small but profound shift in perspective can change everything. Suddenly, you're no longer a victim of your circumstances. Instead, you begin to see every emotion, every conflict, every challenge as an opportunity to get to know yourself better, to heal, to grow. You don't let fear or insecurity dictate your actions anymore. You realize that nothing, absolutely nothing, can affect you unless you allow it. And when you reach this level of self-awareness, something incredible begins to happen. Problems that once seemed insurmountable start to lose their power over you. Not because the world around you has changed, but because you've changed the way you see it. You're no longer caught up in the drama. You're observing it from a place of peace, from a place of choice. And that brings us to the most powerful concept: emotional responsibility. Jung was clear on this. Until you make conscious what governs your life, you will call it fate. Every emotion, every thought, every reaction you have is an opportunity for you to take control of your life, to write your own story. It's not about denying or suppressing your feelings. It's about asking, how can I transform this feeling into something that strengthens me? Every time you feel hurt, frustrated, angry, or upset, you have a choice. You can let those feelings consume you, or you can use them as fuel for growth. Think of a recent moment when someone hurt you. Maybe they said something dismissive, ignored your feelings, or criticized you in a way that left you wounded. Instead of staying trapped in the story of injustice, the story of how they wronged you, pause and take a deep breath. Close your eyes for a moment and visualize that person not as an enemy but as a teacher, someone who is showing you something about yourself. Ask yourself, what part of me created this experience? How can I use this pain to grow? In that moment, you realize that the lesson is not about them, it's about you. It's about the stories you've been telling yourself and how you've let those stories define you. You realize that you don't need anyone else's validation to feel worthy. You don't need people to change for you to feel at peace. Everything you've been searching for outside of yourself has always been inside of you, waiting to be realized. This is when true power comes back into your hands. You stop blaming others for how you feel. You stop externalizing your pain, your anger, your frustration. Instead, you begin to see every emotion as a message, a chance to evolve, to shift your perspective, and to step into a new version of yourself. Jung said it perfectly, peace isn't found, it's cultivated. And the only person who can define who you are and how you feel is you. In that moment, the world loses its power over you because for the first time, you're in control. You're sending a new message to your mind. You're saying that the old patterns of anxiety, insecurity, and anger no longer hold sway over you. Each conscious decision you make is like new programming, rewriting the limiting beliefs and self-imposed chains that once held you hostage. But here's where many people get stuck. They want to change, but they're still holding on to the same old stories about themselves. They tell themselves, I'm too sensitive. I'm always affected by what others say. I can't control my emotions. And over time, these phrases become more than just thoughts, they become an identity. As long as you continue to identify with these beliefs, you will keep repeating the same patterns. But what if you question them? Every time you think, I'm too emotional, pause and ask, is this true? Or is this just something I've repeated so often that I've convinced myself it's the truth? This is where the deeper work begins. The real transformation happens when you start changing the internal narrative. It's not about simply repeating empty affirmations or forcing positivity. It's about creating new experiences that support your evolution. Jung spoke of the importance of integration, bringing to light the parts of ourselves that we've hidden in the shadows. Instead of running from what hurts, we must sit with it, observe it, and accept it as part of our story. But it doesn't have to define us. Imagine, for example, someone says something hurtful to you. In the past, it would have felt like a personal attack, as if their words were weapons that could pierce your heart. But now, instead of allowing their words to dictate your emotional state, you pause, breathe, and remind yourself, their words don't have the power to affect me unless I let them. You realize that the only power those words hold is the meaning you give them. If someone tells you, you'll never make it, it only hurts if part of you fears that it's true. But if you've done the inner work, if you've built your confidence, then those words become nothing more than background noise, insignificant, powerless, weightless. This is the beauty of emotional mastery. When you change the stories you tell yourself, when you stop giving power to the words and actions of others, you take control of your life in a way that is both empowering and freeing. You begin to live with greater peace, greater self-respect, and a deeper sense of freedom. And from that place, nothing, no criticism, no setback, no person can ever take your peace again. The key question here is, how do you reach a point where nothing, absolutely nothing, affects you? It's not about building a wall around yourself, a fragile shell that shatters at the slightest criticism or disappointment. True power lies in flexibility, in the ability to feel everything deeply without letting anything control you. Carl Jung understood this profound truth when he said that real freedom comes Not when we try to suppress our emotions or build barriers, but when we stop identifying with every fleeting thought and passing feeling. True freedom comes when you can observe your emotions without attaching to them, without letting them define who you are. Let's explore this in a real scenario. Imagine you've often felt that people take advantage of your kindness, your giving nature. You've always felt like you give so much, yet in return, you get little. This has frustrated you, left you feeling used, powerless, and unnoticed. Before, you might have ruminated on these feelings, wallowing in a sense of victimhood, feeling resentful that no one appreciated your efforts. But now, you decide to shift your approach. Instead of staying stuck in the role of the victim, you begin to ask yourself some powerful questions. Where am I not setting boundaries? Why is it so hard for me to say no? Slowly, but surely, you begin to establish clear boundaries, not from a place of anger, but from a place of deep self-love and respect. You discover that when you start respecting yourself, others begin to do the same. When you stop giving out of fear of loss, you gain something far more valuable, your inner peace. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. This is a point many people never reach. They wait for the world to change first, hoping for people to become kinder, for their circumstances to improve, for life to stop testing them. But the real truth is that change always begins within. When you change, the world around you responds. It's like tuning a radio when you stop broadcasting fear, insecurity, and frustration. You attract experiences that align with your new energy. Suddenly, what once felt impossible, calm, confidence, clarity becomes your natural state. Can you imagine a life where nothing and no one has the power to knock you off balance? Where every attempt to pull you into conflict leaves you standing firm, unwavering? Where every tough situation, instead of triggering anxiety, is met with calm observation, a steady sense of clarity? Every emotion becomes just a passing wave in the vast ocean of your consciousness, unaffected by the turmoil around you. That peace isn't a far-off dream, it's a real possibility, but it requires commitment. It requires you to stop giving power to the external world and to begin building an inner fortress, one that cannot be torn down by anyone or anything. When you integrate this change into your life, something incredible happens. The world no longer feels hostile. People can no longer hurt you because you've stopped handing them the keys to your peace. Situations that once caused you distress lose their power because you no longer see them with the same eyes. Instead of reacting in fear, insecurity, or frustration, you respond from a place of inner strength. You are no longer at the mercy of life's ups and downs. You are in control. Once you experience this kind of freedom, you will never again let anyone or anything steal your peace. When you permit yourself to prioritize your well-being without guilt, everything in your life begins to align naturally. Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, free from the conditioning of society and the expectations of others. This journey begins with the courage to listen to yourself in a world that's constantly telling you what to think, feel, and do. How many times have you ignored your true desires because you were afraid of disappointing someone else? How many times have you suppressed your emotions because you were taught that feeling deeply was a weakness? How many times have you forced yourself to act a certain way just to fit in or gain approval? Every time, without realizing it, you gave the external world more power over your inner peace. The real issue isn't that the world tries to influence you, it always will. The problem lies in when you begin to drift away from who you truly are to meet others' expectations. This is where the practice of inner silence becomes essential. Jung believed the mind is filled with constant noise, an internal conversation that we rarely question. But what if you took just a few moments each day to be with yourself? No distractions, no phone, no social media, just you, alone with your presence. What if you allowed yourself to simply be? This clarity doesn't come overnight. It's a practice, a commitment to return to the observer state instead of being swept away by every emotional wave. But here's the most curious part. When you live this way, the external world begins to change. Situations that once seemed unbearable lose their emotional charge. People who used to trigger reactions in you lose their power. Most importantly, you experience a lightness, a freedom that you didn't know was possible. But here's the catch. This process doesn't mean you'll never feel pain, frustration, or sadness again. Life will still bring its share of challenges. The difference is that you won't stay trapped in those emotions. You'll recognize them for what they are: temporary visitors, not absolute truths. They are like waves in the ocean, intense for a moment, but always passing. Instead of fighting the current, you learn to ride it, knowing that calm always follows the storm. So, what can you do right now to begin building this inner strength? First, question yourself when intense emotions arise. Instead of reacting immediately, ask yourself, what part of me is being triggered right now? This isn't about judgment, it's about understanding. Then, simply allow the emotion to be present without trying to suppress or change it. Breathe through it, observe it, and notice how it starts to lose its grip on you. Finally, remember this key truth: inner peace is never found outside of you. It's not in perfect circumstances or the validation of others. It is built within, with every choice you make, every thought you think, and every moment you decide that nothing and no one can take your calm. That's the true power. And once you discover it, the world will never look the same again. You've probably spent years believing that life happens to you, that your emotions are uncontrollable, and that the external world defines your state of mind. You've let others' opinions shape how you see yourself, let past mistakes determine what you believe you deserve, and allowed every rejection, criticism, and failure to leave its mark on your identity. Worst of all, without realizing it, you've allowed that suffering to become your new normal. You've lived your life seeking validation from others, constantly craving approval, fearing judgment, as though your worth depended on what others think or say. But now, it's time to stop. It's time to stop living in fear of the external world and to start living with the inner power that's always been within you. When you let go of the need for external validation, you finally allow yourself the freedom to define who you are, to step into your own life with strength, clarity, and peace. And that, my friend, is the life you deserve. But have you ever truly considered what it would be like if none of the external challenges affected you? What if negative words carried no weight? Rejections didn't leave open wounds, but instead became simple detours on your path? What if your intense emotions, instead of overwhelming you, became tools that you could understand, process, and transform? The truth is, your greatest enemy isn't the world around you or the people who criticize you. Your greatest challenge lies in how you've learned to react to these things. From the moment we're born, society teaches us to adapt, to please, to avoid conflict, and to fit into what's expected of us. Over time, we begin to forget our true selves, what we want, what we feel, what we value, fearing that these things won't be accepted. We suppress our voice, hide our emotions, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, we allow others to write the story of who we are. Without realizing it, we lose control over our own lives, and the external world seems to dictate everything. But here's the powerful realization that so few people grasp: you can't control the world. You can't stop people from criticizing you or prevent circumstances from going awry. Life will continue to challenge you, just as it always has. But here's the magic. You can decide how these challenges affect you. You have the power to choose the meaning you give to every experience. You can choose to release the need to control every aspect of your life and trust in your strength to adapt. So the real question is this: are you ready to let go of the old narrative of being a victim of circumstances Are you willing to stop seeing yourself as a passive player in your own life and begin seeing yourself as the creator of your story? If you continue interpreting the world through fear, frustration, and insecurity, you'll continue to attract experiences that reinforce those emotions. But if you change how you relate to what happens, your entire life will shift. Difficult situations will still arise, because that's life. But when you learn to approach them with new eyes, they'll lose their ability to destabilize you. Intense emotions will still surface, but you'll know how to navigate them without being swept away. Others' words will still exist, but they will no longer have the power to define how you feel about yourself. The moment you realize that nothing and no one can affect you without your permission, you are free. You are in full control of your inner state. Now, you might ask, what's stopping you from taking the first step? The truth is, everything you need to transform your life is already within you. All you need to do is decide that the past no longer has power over you. You must choose to stop seeking external validation to feel worthy. You don't need to control every circumstance to feel at peace. True strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the ability to feel everything deeply without being ruled by it. When you truly understand this, everything shifts. What once seemed impossible becomes your new reality. When you begin treating yourself with the respect, love, and care you deserve, the world around you will begin to respond in kind. People who once overlooked you will start to notice. Those who underestimated your worth will start seeing you in a new light. Relationships that once drained you will lose their grip. And when you set the standard for how you deserve to be treated, others will have two choices: respect it or walk away. Here's the most important part of all. How many times have you waited for someone else to bring you the happiness you haven't yet found within yourself? How many times have you felt that without a certain person in your life, you were incomplete, like a vital part of you was missing? This is one of the most insidious traps we fall into without realizing it. We think that love, validation, and security come from the outside. But the truth is, they begin from within. It's not that you shouldn't love others or avoid affection. It's about understanding that the most powerful relationships are formed when two people come together from a place of fullness, not need. Think of it like a dance. If one dancer leans too heavily on the other, the balance is broken. But when both dancers stand in their strength, the dance flows effortlessly in harmony. That's how relationships work. If you enter them expecting to be completed by someone else, you'll always be disappointed. But when you come knowing that you are enough, the connection becomes a space for mutual growth, not dependency. Think of all the difficult relationships you've had, the pain, the misunderstandings, the frustration. What if, instead of seeing them as failures, you saw them as lessons? What if every person who crossed your path was a mirror, reflecting something you needed to learn about yourself? Maybe the person who hurt you taught you the importance of setting healthy boundaries. Perhaps the one who left without explanation showed you how to trust yourself more deeply. Maybe that impossible relationship existed to reveal that true love is never about struggle or obsession, but about the peace two souls can share. Carl Jung said, "Life isn't about avoiding suffering, it's about finding its meaning." Every challenge you face, every intense emotion you experience is a seed. At first, it may feel chaotic, as if it's breaking and disrupting everything in your life. But if you allow it, that seed can grow into something beautiful. The question isn't whether difficulties will arise, they will. The question is, how will you choose to see them? Will you turn them into excuses to give up, or will you use them as fuel to grow stronger? If you are still watching this video and find these lessons helpful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Here's the uncomfortable truth. No one will save you. No one will fill the emptiness you feel if you don't choose to face it yourself. No one can do your inner work for you. Until you understand this, you'll keep seeking outside, what can only be found within. But here's the incredible part. No matter how many times you've fallen, you can always start again. Every day, every sunrise is a reminder that you have a new chance. The sun doesn't mourn the previous night's darkness. It shines again, unburdened, unapologetic. And so can you. It's all here, in this moment. It's about how you choose to experience what happens now. Because in the end, it all comes down to how you live each instant. Some people only discover this truth after hitting rock bottom, during moments of despair when everything feels lost. But it's often when darkness feels total that we find our greatest revelation. The light was never outside of us, it was always within. Imagine someone who has experienced a devastating loss, a loss so deep it feels like their entire world crumbled within days. Perhaps they lost everything in a business venture, were betrayed by a close loved one, or had their life forever altered by an unexpected disease. At first, the natural reaction is to fight against reality. They ask themselves why it happened. They seek answers from the outside, and often they fall into a spiral of blaming circumstances, fate, or even themselves. But there comes a moment when the weight of suffering is so overwhelming that the only thing left to do is surrender, not to give up on life, but to let go of the illusion of control that was never truly theirs. In that moment of surrender, something extraordinary happens. It's in that very letting go that many find a peace they never knew existed. Some, after years of battling anxiety, realize that the secret to peace was never about controlling every minute detail of life, but trusting in their innate ability to adapt to whatever comes their way. Others, after losing everything, find that in the emptiness, they have the rare opportunity to reinvent themselves in ways they never imagined. Those who have been betrayed or disappointed come to discover that the most profound love they'll ever experience is the love that starts from within. Carl Jung spoke of integrating the shadow, the idea of accepting all parts of ourselves, even those we've rejected or hidden away for years. He said, "What we deny within, we see reflected outside." Imagine spending your whole life seeking validation from others, striving desperately to fit molds that never truly suited you, constantly trying to prove your worth in the eyes of those around you. One day, you might wake up to the painful truth. The search for external approval never brought you lasting fulfillment. The only validation you truly needed was your own. In that realization, something profound shifts within you. Suddenly, you don't need anyone else to see you. You recognize yourself in a way you never have before. You no longer require the world's approval because you realize that your worth has never depended on their perception of you. That is when true freedom enters your life, freedom in a way you never imagined. A freedom that isn't shaped by external circumstances or other people's opinions, but by your acceptance and self-awareness. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, a journey that can sometimes be painful, but is always filled with moments of revelation, each one adding to the foundation of a new path forward. Each step towards self-awareness, every time you face your shadow instead of running from it, brings you closer to your most authentic self. And when you reach that clarity, something remarkable begins to happen. The external world starts to change as well. Relationships that once troubled you begin to heal. Problems that once felt insurmountable seem to shrink, not because the world has suddenly shifted, but because you have. You respond to life from a place of awareness, from confidence, not from fear or insecurity. Think about all the times you felt you couldn't go on, when you believed there was no way out, when life seemed to push you against a wall, and yet, here you are. You've survived every single one of those moments. What makes you think you can't keep going? What once felt like an insurmountable abyss is now just a memory, a part of your past. Every fall you've taken has been a step in your evolution. Every wound you've experienced has been a disguised teacher, and every fear you've overcome is a testament to the strength that has always been within you. But here's the most important question: What will you do with all this newfound wisdom? Life isn't just about understanding these concepts intellectually, it's about applying them. You can choose to stay trapped in old patterns, waiting for something external to change. Or you can take a step, no matter how small, towards a new way of living. What if you trusted in your ability to overcome anything? What if, instead of resisting the present moment, you immersed yourself in it, finding in each experience a chance to grow, to evolve, to deepen your understanding of yourself? Perhaps life has been patiently waiting for you to come to this realization. Perhaps every single thing you've experienced, every trial, every struggle, has been part of a greater plan not to break you, but to awaken the most powerful version of yourself. So what now? Will you continue seeing life as something that happens to you? Or will you begin to see it as something you actively create? Will you wait for things to change outside of you? Or will you choose to change from within? The answer has always been inside of you. The moment to begin is not tomorrow, not when everything is perfect, it is right now. You have everything you need to step into the life you've always desired. The moment to reclaim your power, to transform your world, is today. Take that first step, and the rest will follow. As we wrap up today's video, I want you to pause and reflect on what you've learned so far. What insights or realizations have resonated with you? Maybe you've recognized how powerful surrender can be, or how embracing your own can transform your reality. Perhaps you've discovered that true freedom lies not in controlling every aspect of your life, but in trusting your ability to adapt and grow. I'd love to hear from you. What is one thing you've learned today that you'll bring into your own life? Drop it in the comments below. Let's start a conversation and support each other as we move forward on this journey of self-discovery and growth. And if you found value in this video, please take a moment to leave your comment, like, share, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world, and we'd love to have you with us on this path of transformation. Remember, the power to create the life you want is already within you. It's time to step into it. See you in the next video.